What really transpired behind closed doors when Cassie stepped into that courtroom? Could the truth she's about to reveal set her free? From the moment she appeared, every camera lens pivoted toward her, every juror's pulse quickened, and even Sean Diddy Combs couldn't help but steal a glance. In that charged silence, you could almost hear the collective question echo, what does she know that could change everything? She stood there in a simple brown dress, her baby bump unmistakable, yet it was her unwavering gaze and the steel in her posture that sent a clear message. She was no longer the naive 19-year-old girl in his world. Today, she had come prepared not just to testify, but to shatter the myths that had protected one of music's most powerful men for over a decade. Every detail she's about to share promises to unravel the glitz, the glamour, and the lies, and what emerges could rewrite the story of fame, power, and betrayal in the entertainment industry. In July 2024, federal prosecutors dropped a bombshell. Sean Diddy Combs was accused of building a decades-long criminal enterprise designed to facilitate sexual exploitation. Far beyond typical racketeering charges, this indictment alleges he trafficked women across state lines, controlling their movements, finances, and even their bodies for his own gratification. The government's 65-count indictment reads like the plot of a dark thriller, schemes to coerce victims into drug-fueled freak-offs, contracts that bound them to silence, and a network of trusted associates tasked with maintaining the facade of a legitimate empire. Each charge, racketeering, sex trafficking, forced labor, carries a maximum sentence of life imprisonment. Underscoring the stakes at play, prosecutors describe this as not a series of isolated incidents, but a systematic operation that embedded itself within the very infrastructure of Diddy's entertainment companies. Witnesses have testified to witnessing forced encounters in luxe hotel suites, to seeing security teams whisk victims away at a moment's notice, and to overhearing conversations about hush payments. The indictment paints Diddy not as a singular predator acting alone, but as the ringleader of an enterprise so sprawling that it used the veneer of record deals and music video sets to conceal its true purpose. And yet, for all the damning allegations, this legal document only scratches the surface of what Cassie Ventura is poised to reveal. When Cassie Ventura, once a rising R&B star under Bad Boy Entertainment, took the stand, she transformed from a name in the papers to the beating heart of the prosecution's case. At 39 weeks pregnant, every inch of her presence spoke volumes. The dress cut just so, the calm steadiness of her voice, the way she navigated each question with measured precision. Jurors leaned in as she described her childhood, her meteoric rise to fame at age 15, and her whirlwind romance with Diddy. But the real gravity settled when she recounted that eerie reunion, the first time she'd laid eyes on him in court since his 2018 appearance at Kim Porter's funeral. Eyewitnesses noted Diddy's taut expression and the slight tremor in his jaw. For him, this trial was supposed to be a battle fought by lawyers. Now his oldest muse and first love was center stage. Cassie's testimony cut through years of public appearances and social media flashbacks, exposing a relationship that many fans had only glimpsed through red carpet smiles. She spoke not as a victim begging for sympathy, but as a witness determined to tell the unvarnished truth. And when she paused, glanced at the jury, and said, "I never willingly chose that path," the courtroom seemed to hold its breath. From that moment, she wasn't just recalling past events, she was rewriting the narrative, in real time. "Freak off is a cruel term," Cassie began, her voice steady but her eyes fluttering at the memories. At just 22, she found herself at the center of Diddy's twisted concept of intimacy, orchestrated encounters where he watched her perform sexual acts with others while under the influence of drugs. The first freak-off occurred in a dimly lit suite, the walls lined with cameras, the air thick with haze. She described the fear, the adrenaline, and the instant shame that washed over her as she realized this was no consensual adventure. It was coerced under the guise of career advancement. She recounted the drugs he supplied, downers to numb her, stimulants to keep her going, and the quiet menace of being cut off from her own will. "I thought if I do this, he'll help my career," she told the jury. "I thought if I refuse, I'll lose everything." The room fell silent as she revealed the moment that changed everything. After the first freak-off, she tried to speak up, to say enough, but an email from him read, "I know you don't want to do it," and that was the threat. When asked if she ever enjoyed it, her composure cracked. "I did," she whispered, glancing away, "only because it made him happy." That single sentence laid bare the psychological abuse that had lain hidden behind flashy videos and platinum plaques. She spoke of the nights when she could not sleep, of the constant guilt that gnawed at her, and of the first time she cried alone in a hotel bathroom. Terrified and ashamed. This was more than a scandal. It was a study in manipulation, The kind that leaves no bruises but destroys lives nonetheless. In November 2023, Cassie filed a civil suit against Diddy for $20 million, accusing him of assault, battery, and intentional infliction of emotional distress. The lawsuit detailed events ranging from unwanted advances to the freak-offs, and within 24 hours, Bad Boy Entertainment executives announced a settlement. Some speculated the swift payout was a tactical move to silence her before federal investigators could dig deeper. Yet Cassie's decision to accept money then turn around and testify under oath reveals an even more complex calculus. She told the jury she agreed to the settlement to secure her unborn child's future, to protect her privacy, and to ensure she could speak freely afterwards, free from the crippling legal battles that would drain her resources and her spirit. "I saw it as buying my silence," she said. "But money can't buy back your voice." In that moment, her honesty exposed the power imbalance at the heart of the relationship. He had the resources to make her disappear, yet she chose to reappear, brandishing the truth as her weapon. Cassie detailed the internal meetings where she wrestled with that choice, how advisors counseled caution, while friends urged her to expose him fully. Her voice rose when she spoke of the final email, the one where she told him, "I can't do this anymore." That message, read aloud in court, sent a ripple through the gallery. It was more than words, it was liberation in written form. One of the prosecution's most compelling exhibits was a grainy surveillance video from 2016, captured in a luxury hotel at 3 a.m. The footage shows Cassie entering a suite, her movements hesitant, followed by 2 escorts. Diddy's voice echoes in the background, instructing security to lock the door. Though the clip is silent, Cassie narrated over it, describing how she felt like prey under a spotlight. Each frame, she said, was a reminder of how her body became a commodity in his empire. Then came the photos, images of Kanye West laughing in the hallway, Kid Cudi nodding as though in conversation, Lauren London leaning against a marble wall. Cassie identified each individual, not as casual acquaintances, but as players in a broader scheme. Security chiefs, personal assistants, business managers, all entrusted with the task of maintaining her captivity. She named them by role. "He's the one who made sure I was drugged," she said, pointing to a stern-faced man in a blazer. "She handled my schedule so I couldn't escape," she continued, tapping another photo. Together, the video and images formed a mosaic of complicity. They reframed the narrative from bad night to planned operation, showing that this was never an isolated incident but part of a pattern orchestrated at the highest levels. Jurors watched her point out each face, each date stamped in the bottom corner of the photos, and saw how her testimony cracked the veneer of celebrity. She was no longer a star in someone else's story, she became the narrator, guiding the jury through a labyrinth of lies. In a moment the court will never forget, Cassie described an alleged rape in 2018, an act she said was carried out not in anger, but as part of the enterprise's initiatory rituals. She prefaced the details with measured care. "It's been said that this happened," she told the jury, framing it as reported but unverified. Then, her voice dropping to a whisper, she recounted how she had been threatened with career sabotage if she ever spoke out. "They said my contract would be void," she said, "that they could ruin me." Her hands trembled as she held back tears, and the gallery pressed forward, hanging on every word. She told of waking up dazed, of text messages from security teams instructing her to appear in private suites, and of the suffocating fear that came with realizing there was no end, no escape. "I felt trapped," she said. "Like I was property, not a person." When asked how she finally found the courage to resist, she paused, then looked each juror in the eye and said, "I pictured my future child and knew I had to reclaim my voice." That declaration transformed the courtroom, shifting the dynamic from witness recounting to survivor triumphing. Her testimony about that night was corroborated by phone records, hotel receipts, and sworn statements from a former staffer now cooperating. Yet even these facts paled beside the force of her presence on the stand. The vulnerability, the resolve, the clear message that truth, once spoken aloud, can never be unspoken. Public reaction online buzz, almost equals 500 words. By midday, #CassieSpeaks was trending internationally. Clips of her testimony flooded social feeds, accompanied by anguished commentary and fervent debates. Some fans rallied behind her, applauding her bravery and calling for Diddy's conviction. Others cautioned that the trial's outcome must rest on evidence, not emotion. Podcast hosts dissected every inflection, TikTokers recreated courtroom scenes, and memes distilled hours of testimony into single frames. Yet amid the frenzy, a note of uncertainty prevailed. Which celebrity witnesses might be next? Cassie had named Dallas Austin, a longtime friend and producer. Could he confirm her account? Or might more unexpected figures appear? Legal analysts weighed in, speculating whether surprise testimonies could include other former bad boy artists or industry insiders. Rumors swirled of undisclosed text threads, of forensic data yet unseen. Yet commentators repeatedly reminded their audiences, these are allegations until proven beyond a reasonable doubt. Meanwhile, the judge issued a gag order on social media posts by witnesses, emphasizing the trial's integrity over the court of public opinion. But the buzz only intensified. Public sentiment seemed to split between outrage and skepticism, with opinion polls showing a near-even divide on whether Diddy would ultimately be convicted. Celebrities released carefully worded statements of support, some lauding Cassie's courage, others simply hoping for a fair trial. The contrast between the explosive online narrative and the solemnity inside the courtroom underscored a modern paradox. In an age of instant information, truth still travels at the pace of judicial procedure. Cassie Ventura's testimony has ripped away the stage curtains, exposing a drama of power, exploitation, and survival that few anticipated. As the trial enters its next phase, prosecutors will call more witnesses, potentially from Diddy's own inner circle, each news statement adding pressure to the defense's strategy. Will Diddy's lawyers manage to cast doubt on Cassie's narrative, or will more evidence emerge to bolster her account? The answer may lie in text messages, financial ledgers, and the memories of those who once stood beside him. For Cassie, the journey is far from over. She faces cross-examination designed to challenge her credibility, uncover inconsistencies, or suggest ulterior motives. Yet she has already achieved a measure of triumph. By speaking her truth, she has reclaimed the narrative and forced an industry giant into the dock. Whether justice comes in the form of a guilty verdict or a settlement in civil court, the reverberations will be felt across music, media, and the broader conversation about consent and power. As spectators, pundits, and fans, we can only watch and wait. The next days will bring more revelations, more heart-stopping moments in court, and possibly more surprise witnesses whose names have yet to surface. But regardless of the verdict, one fact remains: Cassie's voice has cut through the noise, proving that even the most imposing empires can crumble when the truth is finally, irrevocably told.